God once sent a spirit into a room full of prophets with one job: lie to a king and lead him to his death. And the strangest part? The king was warned. This is King Ahab, one of the worst kings Israel ever had. And this is the day he decides to go to war. He wants to retake a city called Ramoth-Gilead. So he gathers his prophets, 400 of them, and asks the obvious question: should I go? And all 400 say the same thing: go, you'll win. God will hand it to you. 400 prophets, one answer, case closed. Except there's one more prophet. And Ahab really doesn't want to call him in. His name is Micaiah. And Ahab says something you rarely hear a king admit out loud: I hate him. He never prophesies anything good about me, only disaster. They bring Micaiah in, and at first, he plays along. Go up, he says. You'll win. But he says it so hollow, so obviously sarcastic, that Ahab does something remarkable. The king demands the truth. How many times do I have to make you swear to tell me what's real? Sit with that. The wicked king, surrounded by 400 yes men, and he's the one demanding to hear what's true. So Micaiah tells him what he saw. He saw the Lord on his throne, the armies of heaven standing to his left and his right. And he heard God ask a question: who will entice Ahab? So he'll go up to Ramoth-Gilead and die there. The Spirit steps forward and volunteers. The Spirit says, I will go out and be a lying spirit in the mouths of all his prophets. That's the offer. And God's answer? You will succeed. Go and do it. Go and do it. So now you understand what those 400 prophets really were. Not liars by choice. Not corrupt men chasing a king's favor. A lie God sent. Wearing 400 faces, and Micaiah says it plainly, out loud, in the throne room. The Lord has put a lying spirit in the mouths of all these prophets of yours, and the Lord has decreed disaster for you. There it is, the trap exposed. Ahab has just been told by a true prophet that every voice pushing him to war is a lie God planted to get him killed. He knows. Now he knows everything. So what does a man do when God himself has just shown him the trap? He throws the prophet in prison. Bread and water, Ahab says, until I come home victorious. And then he marches to Ramoth-Gilead, straight into the trap he was just warned about, eyes open. Every word of it explained to him. But Ahab isn't a fool. He has a plan to beat the prophecy. He takes off his crown. He takes off his kingly robes. He dresses as an ordinary soldier, just one more face in the ranks. If nobody can find the king, nobody can kill the king. Clever. Genuinely clever. He's going to hide from God in a crowd. And out in that chaos, a soldier on the other side draws his bow. He isn't aiming at anyone. The text is careful about this. He draws it at random. He lets the arrow go into a battlefield of thousands. And of every man out there, it finds Ahab. It slips between the sections of his armor, the one seam, the one gap, and buries itself in the single king who took off his crown so this couldn't happen. He bleeds out in his chariot by sundown, exactly where the vision said he'd fall. So here's what the story leaves in your hands. God asked who would deceive him. God approved the lie. God sent it into the mouths of 400 men. And then God killed Ahab for believing the lie God built. He was warned, yes, but he was warned about a trap that God had already set, sprung by prophets God had already seized, closing on a day God had already chosen. So maybe the question was never whether Ahab was foolish enough to walk in. Maybe it's what kind of God warns a man about a trap and builds the trap and holds the door open the whole way in. Subscribe for more bad Bible stories where the stories are ancient, the people are messy, and sometimes the wildest part is not what people believe about the Bible. It is what the Bible actually says.